This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
Well, everybody's favorite team mom with a gold whistle, Coach Prime, is back at it again with the clown behavior. You know, Deion Sanders is probably the biggest clown in the college football world of my lifetime. The only possible exception being maybe Butch Jones' time at Tennessee in the late 20-teens when he was the head coach there, and some of the just ridiculous things he would say in his press conference. Went to brick by brick and 5-star hearts and mental reps. And it just seemed like every time he opened his mouth, it was just gold for people like me looking to point and laugh. But Deion Sanders is just a complete, first of all, he's not a serious person when it comes to being a college football coach. If that's not obvious by this point, then you just haven't been, paying attention. But he's back at it again. Going at it with a reporter from a local, not even a national CBS report, a local CBS affiliate reporter at a post-practice press conference yesterday. I'm going to play the video for you here in a second. But shout out to BetUS for partnering with the channel and sponsoring this video. Check them out. The link is in the description. They've got one of the best bonuses going right now. It's a 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits. So a lot of these places will give you a bonus on your first deposit. BetUS going to hook you up on your first 3 deposits, 125% bonus up to $2,000. They've got great customer service. It's super simple and easy to get your money in and out. Make sure you check out BetUS. The link is in the description down below. So Colorado held a practice the other day, and then they had a press conference afterwards, and Deion comes out to give a statement and then take questions from the media, and it just immediately goes sideways. Now, there's 2 different sort of issues that I want to talk about in this video. One has been widely publicized over the last couple of days. The second one, not so much, but something I just want to kind of point out too as another example of Deion just not being a serious person and being there for one reason and one reason only, and that's to promote himself and his family. That's literally the only reason he's there. But let's start out with this. I'm going to play a clip from his press conference where he goes back and forth with this CBS reporter, and then we'll talk about it.
Eric Christensen with CBS Sports Colorado.
CBS,
Tyler,
I'm not doing nothing with CBS. Next question.
Joe Rigo, Mile
Ain't got nothing to do with you. It's above that. Ain't got nothing to do with you. I got love for you. I appreciate you, respect you. Ain't got nothing to do with you. They know what they did.
I'm here in Denver, not national.
You are who you are. CBS is CBS.
All right.
Joe
Ain't got
Rigo,
nothing
Mile
to do with you. I respect you. That's why I told you that. I'm looking you in the eye as a man. I respect you. I got love for you. But what they did was foul.
Coach Sean Keeler, the Denver Post. Happy summer, my man.
You don't like us, man. Why do you do this to yourself?
Come on.
You don't like us.
Mark
You
likes
know
me, by the way.
Huh?
Yeah. Mark said he likes me.
No,
so
but
that's
you
one.
don't. Why do you
That's
do
one.
this, though?
No, I'm sorry. 2-parter if I could.
No, I'm
Football
serious. Why do
question.
you do this? Like, you know you don't. Like, why do you do this?
No, it's not about that. Football question. Football
No,
question.
why do you do this? Like, it would be hard for me to really engage in someone I don't like or something I don't like. I'm just asking why. Like, why?
Gotta pay
What
the
did
bills,
I
Coach.
do?
You didn't do anything. It's not about that. But this is
But
a football
why?
question.
I'm asking you why.
Yeah, you can answer, but that's
Okay,
not
answer
germane
me.
to this.
Because
Yeah.
you want me to answer you. So
Yeah, okay, that's fine. That's fair. Yeah.
Why?
Why? Because I have
Give me
questions.
your why.
What's your why? What do you want to know?
Why do you always on attack? Like, what did we do?
Where am I on attack today? Where am I on attack?
Yeah, I'm not gonna give you opportunities to be on attack. But I'm asking you why. Like, what does it do for you? Like, what happened?
It's not about me.
But what happened to get you like this?
Okay, now there's 2 theories going around here on what may have set Deion off here. But one thing to keep in mind is that whatever it is, whether it's either of these 2 theories that are going around or whether it's some 3rd reason or 4th reason or whatever, it has nothing to do with this guy that asked the question. Absolutely nothing. This guy is a local reporter, sports reporter on the Colorado beat, covering the Colorado Buffaloes for the local, I believe, Denver CBS affiliate. So whatever the issue is, it's got nothing to do with this guy. It doesn't matter to Deion. He's got no interest in it, got no time for this guy because he happens to work for a CBS affiliate. So the first and sort of thing going around, 24/7 Sports, which of course is owned by CBS, put out a list, which by the way, everybody and their brother puts out these same lists every single offseason, sometimes multiple times in an offseason, ranking head coaches. Everybody does it, from the big ESPNs and Fox Sports down to the 24/7 sports to idiots like me. I did this a couple of months ago. You just rank the coaches. Sometimes you might say, here's the top 10 coaches in all of college football, or here's the worst 10 coaches in all of college football, or let's rank the coaches in the SEC, or in this case, with what seems to be the issue for Deion, let's rank the coaches in the sort of new formed Big 12, right? And they ranked Deion as the second worst head coach. I'll put up my list of the ranking of the Big 12 coaches that I did a couple of months ago right there. Here you go. So you can see it's a pretty it's not going out on a limb. He ranked Deion as the second worst coach in the Big 12. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. He's only been a coach for 1 year. He went 4-8 in that year. Literally nothing went well, really. He recruits terribly out of high school. In fact, he doesn't even try. So, like, it makes sense that you would have Deion ranked there now. Well, that's one issue. That Deion just got his feelings hurt, or that's one opinion. Deion has got his feeling hurt by CBS, 24/7 Sports, which is owned by CBS, because they ranked him the second worst coach in the Big 12. If that's true, that's completely ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. And again, has nothing to do with this reporter at this press conference who never even got to ask his question. We'll get back to sort of the back and forth in a minute, but more on what could have led up to this. So that's one theory. 24/7 Sports, owned by CBS, puts out a ranking of Big 12 coaches, and Deion thinks they have him too low on there. So I'm just not going to talk to anybody from CBS from now to the end of time. Just complete toddler behavior. That's one theory. Because, of course, Deion never tells the reporter what the issue is. He never says what the issue is. He just says, you know what you did. You know what y'all did. Y'all are foul, or whatever he said. Completely ridiculous. The other sort of thing that is floating around out there, and this goes back several months now, and I didn't even know that CBS was the organization that broke this story or wrote this story. I remember seeing this story in a lot of different places. So if this is the reason why, I'm a little confused as to why Deion would be singling out CBS for this particular issue, because I saw this all over the place. Maybe CBS was the first one to break it or report it. I honestly don't know. But there is a story that goes back a bunch of years involving one of Deion's kids, who, of course, now plays for Colorado, in a physical altercation, we'll call it, where someone was injured. They sued the Sanders kid and won a big monetary judgment against the Sanders kid. And I guess he's never paid that monetary judgment. And at least according to the article that was written, in an effort now to get around having to pay that monetary judgment against him, he files bankruptcy. Files bankruptcy while riding around in $100,000 cars and flashing jewelry and talking about how much money they make through NIL and going on social media all the time to brag about how much money they have and all that. Meanwhile, he's filing bankruptcy, the theory being to hide from this monetary judgment against him, going back to this physical altercation from a bunch of years ago. So now the story was fact-based. In other words, the story wasn't an opinion piece. The story didn't accuse the family of trying to hide anything outright or whatever. It's just when you read the story, that's kind of the conclusion you draw. But the story is just a fact-based story. This altercation happened. He was charged with this. He then had a monetary judgment against him. He then didn't pay it. He now has filed bankruptcy to try to not pay it. It's just a series of facts that really is publicly available knowledge and information. And that's the other theory, that Deion is pissed off that they put that story out. Here's the thing. If that's the case, okay, it is true that that story has nothing to do with football. Nothing at all. Zero to do with football. However, when you are high profile, and the Sanders family is high profile, whether you're talking about Deion, Shador, Shiloh, Deion Sanders Jr., which we'll talk about in a second, with the second issue, the sort of less talked about issue that I have from the press conference. Travis Hunter, adopted child of Deion or whatever. When you're that out in the public view, stories are going to get written about you outside of the world of football. This shouldn't be news to Deion, somebody that has been in the public eye for 40 years. Somebody who has sought attention for his entire life. And I don't mean that in a negative way. Deion, if nothing else, has been extremely successful at PR, at public relations, at attention getting, at self-promotion. And again, I'm not saying that at all in a negative way. If you look at sort of where we're at today in a social media age and things like that, and I know there's the Dan Lanning quote from last year about Colorado playing for clicks and views and they play for wins and blah, blah, blah. But if you just look at the purpose of any and all social media is to get clicks and views, and Deion and his family, they're geniuses at that. And if they provide nothing else to Colorado as a university, they have provided Colorado an unthinkable amount of free publicity and financial windfall. Colorado has made a lot of money off of hiring Deion Sanders. People talk about Colorado. People go to the Colorado games. People buy Colorado merchandise. Colorado as an institution financially has hit a home run with the hire of Deion Sanders. Why? It's because of his personality. It's because of his social media presence. It's because of his son's social media presence. It's because of the attention that they attract purposefully. It's not an accident. It's a business plan that the Sanders family has, and they are executing it to perfection, okay? But you have to know that when you are doing that, and there's a huge negative story out there, that somebody is going to talk about it. The idea that Shiloh Sanders could be involved in all this and file bankruptcy and have this judgment against him and all that, and that nobody in the college football world was supposed to talk about it or mention it, is pure stupidity on Deion Sanders' part. You can't seek attention constantly, but then expect to only receive positive attention. That's just not the way it works. The louder you are, the cockier you are, the more boisterous you are, the more attention you're going to get. And look, if Deion would have showed up last year and went 10-2, he would have got all this positive attention, tons, right? But he didn't. He went 4-8. You're still going to get the same amount of attention. Deion is seeking a certain amount of attention, and he's getting that amount of attention. Whether it's positive or negative is going to be determined by what is going on in and around the Colorado football program and its players, right? I can't believe that Deion would be shocked that this story was written about his son filing bankruptcy. It blows my mind that he somehow thinks that should have been off limits. Now, I get it. That's his kid. He's very protective. And look, I'll be honest with you. I know somebody who is in the public eye to a much smaller degree than Deion. I mean, a minuscule micro percentage in the public eye compared to Deion and his family. Barely knowable or recognizable outside of a fairly small group and community. Small compared to Deion. And this individual had some legal trouble of his own about 3 years ago. And everybody with a YouTube channel had something to say about it. They had a video to make about it. They had messages to send to me and my family about it. Did I come on here and cry about it? No. Doing this kind of thing is a decision you make, and you got to, and there's been a ton of good bestowed upon me because of this channel and what I do. There's also been some negative. And you got to take the good with the bad. And the fact that Deion is somehow surprised that a national media organization who covers sports, 24/7 sports, CBS Sports, would write an article like that. The fact that he's acting surprised is absolutely mind-numbing to me. It's absolutely mind-boggling. And to single this reporter out because he happens to work for a local TV affiliate in Denver who is under the CBS umbrella and say, not talking to you, not answering any questions from you, got no interest in you, got no use for you, you're wasting your time here. Wouldn't even let the guy ask his question. Never mind. That's the other thing. The question had nothing to do with the bankruptcy or being 4-8 last year or being ranked next to last. We don't even know what the guy wanted to ask. He never got to ask his question. He worked for CBS. Sorry, you're not asking the question. Now, the one guy before did ask the question about the coaching ranking, and that's what kind of started it. But it's just mind-boggling to me that somebody like Deion, who has lived his entire life in the public eye and who constantly seeks attention, and again, some people have a problem. Some people look negatively upon Deion and his family with the attention-seeking thing. They're just out here. They just want attention. They say, hey, look at me, and they're all over social media. And I don't knock them for that. That's a decision they made. It's a successful one, at least financially for them, right, through their social media presence and sort of the publicity they get and things like. I'm not knocking them for that. I don't think there's anything wrong with seeking attention in and of itself, but you have to know. Especially if you're somebody like Deion Sanders. I mean, Deion Sanders did not wake up yesterday famous. This guy has been in the public eye, the public spotlight, famous, whatever you want to call it, for 40-something years. Go back to his Tim McCarver thing in baseball, right? He got pissed off at Tim McCarver because something Tim McCarver said about him, so he dumped the water on his head or whatever it was. So, in other words, Deion should not be surprised that somebody wrote an article about that. So I don't know whether it's the article about his kid and the bankruptcy that set him off yesterday, or whether it was the more recent article out by 24/7 Sports and CBS Sports ranking the Big 12 coaches, and they had Deion next to last. Either one is ridiculous for Deion to react and come across that way. It's just a complete joke. It's a terrible look, I think. And again, was I surprised? No, wasn't surprised at all. Now, I want to talk about a second issue with that, a second issue with the press conference, which is maybe a little less meaningful, but just you can't help but notice it. So it was of course Deion and three players. In this, whatever team you're a fan of, right? You've seen these press conferences, whether it be after games, after practices, whatever the case. The coach will pick a couple of players, maybe an offensive lineman, a linebacker, and a wide receiver or something to come out and answer questions, whatever, for a few minutes, right? Three players were chosen. Do you know which three they were? Of course you do. Of course you know. I don't have to tell you. In fact, I'm not even going to tell you. You know which three players they were. And there's a whole other outlook. I was all set to make a video about the clip that went viral last week where Deion holds a team meeting on the practice field. Have y'all seen this? Deion holds a team meeting on the practice field, calls everybody into a huddle, and he's talking to them. He separates Travis Hunter from the rest of the team, and he points at him and he goes, "You see this guy? This Travis Hunter. You don't touch Travis Hunter. You don't tackle Travis Hunter. You don't bump into Travis Hunter. You don't wrap Travis Hunter up. You don't drag him to the ground. You don't two-hand touch him. You don't look him in the eyes. You don't breathe the same air he breathes." And I'm like, what the? And then he goes, "Now, this isn't a favoritism thing. It's just, we got to protect Travis Hunter." And I'm sitting there going, you got to be kidding me. As a college football fan, we complain nonstop about how sort of the special treatment that quarterbacks get or whatever, and they're kind of in a bubble. But I guess we get it to a certain extent. It's the quarterback, but never seen a defensive back given that treatment before, or a wide receiver or whatever you want to call him. Now, is he one of the best players in college football? Yes. Travis Hunter is one of the best players in all of college football. There's not a team in the country that he wouldn't start for, period. End of story. He's a top 5 pick in next year's NFL draft. That's 100% true. But if he's a top 5 pick in the NFL draft, that means there's 4 other players that are top 5 picks too. How many of them are off limits in practice besides the quarterbacks, right? Whoever that might, there's a defensive end somewhere. There's an outside linebacker somewhere. There's a lockdown corner somewhere. There's a first-round wide receiver somewhere. How many of those people are being separated from the rest of the team at practice, and the coach is pointing at him and going, you see that right there? Don't touch him. Don't tackle him. Don't touch him. Don't wrap him up. Don't bump into him. Don't look at him. Don't breathe the same air he breathes. Don't make eye contact. So anyway, you know the 3 players that showed up at the press conference yesterday. Actually, only 2 of the 3 showed up. One of them decided not to. He didn't even want to participate in the press conference, although he was listed. The paperwork is handed out to the reporters ahead of time. Deion's going to be here to make a statement and answer questions, and he's going to be with these 3 players. And again, you know the 3 players I'm talking about. I don't even have to say who they are. That's how obvious it is. That's how clear and obvious it is. You know who the 3 were. And one of them, Travis Hunter, he didn't even bother to show up for whatever reason. But so yeah, seen a bunch of comments last week and people sending me messages on Twitter and stuff like that to make a video about last week's video where Travis Hunter is sort of placed in a bubble and told he's different, he's special, he's better than you, don't bother him. Deion told the rest of the team that. And before I even had a chance to talk about that, this thing comes out yesterday and this morning with this press conference. And again, it's just completely ridiculous. It's childish behavior. It should be beneath a college football head coach. And here's the thing. I've seen some comments on this press conference where reference is made to some comments that Nick Saban has made to reporters in the past. And look, Nick Saban has been known to jump on reporters from time to time, but it's always been football related. And here's the thing, and you're going to say, well, that's not fair. Life ain't fair, buddy. Nick Saban's the greatest college football coach of all time. He won, what did he win? 7 national titles. At one point, he won, I think, 5 in 10 years. He earned that right. He earned that. For Deion to get up here and treat this guy this way is laughable. And look, my opinion hasn't changed. This is Deion's last year at Colorado. Is there anybody at this point that thinks Deion is sticking around at Colorado once his 3 kids are gone? Travis Hunter, Shiloh, and Shador. Is there anybody that thinks he's sticking around? Ask yourself this: does it look like Deion is building Colorado for the future? Does it look like that to you? No. Deion Sanders, from the day he was hired at Colorado, is building for the now. He's been on 0 high school recruiting visits. Not a single one. 0. By his own admission. By Deion's, out of Deion's own mouth, he's been on 0 high school. Look at his high school recruiting classes. He recruits all transfer portals, all mercenary players that are here today, gone tomorrow. They're here for a year or 2. You don't build a program for the future that way. He's not going to be there next year. The Cowboys are not re-signing Dak Prescott. It looks like this will be Dak Prescott's last year as quarterback in Dallas. And then he's gone. Dallas is going to draft Shador Sanders, and Deion is going to get a job selling popcorn at Cowboys home games. Have a good morning.